Welcome to the Gloves Are Off Overtime Edition. I'm Moses Woldu. We got some great people here for you. First of all, my co-host Greg Buchanan and, well, see you.
Hi, Moses.
There we go. I cut you off. Sorry, buddy. And Darren Pawsey, of course, you are the Bantam Mustangs head coach. You guys are going to provincials, the semifinals, and a chance to host if you win.
Right, yep. Saturday, 11:30 in the morning. We're playing at Clark Park in Edmonton, which is just south of Commonwealth Stadium. And so hopefully the weather cooperates with us a little bit, and we're looking forward to it. The boys are really excited, especially about winning the league championship Friday night. But the fact that we get to go into provincials now, that's something we haven't done for a while. So they're pretty pumped up about it.
That's fantastic. All right, we're going to switch gears, go into a little bit of hockey. Semyon Varlamov was in the lineup for the Colorado Avalanche over the weekend, despite his charges, of course, with kidnapping, all that background stuff that's been going on within his life. But he's still innocent. He's still innocent until proven guilty, right? So with that said, was it appropriate for the Avalanche to dress him considering what's going on with him personally? And this is a serious matter. This isn't something just light like a little misdemeanor. This is something of a serious crime.
You know, I think they should have just not dressed him that quickly. Let it get worked out in the legal system, whatever has to happen. I know he's been charged, but like you say, you're innocent until proven guilty. But I think maybe they should have dressed their backups and left him out of the lineup until everything kind of got figured out there.
No, not at all. They should have. You know what? And the way Patrick Waugh addressed the media about the situation, it made you almost shiver. That the way that he talked about it, he just kind of sloughed it off like it was nothing, and it ain't nothing. And then his lawyer coming out saying it's a conspiracy against the Russian Olympic team because this guy could be a goalie for the Russian Olympic team. Are you kidding me? Like, there's something weird going on in Colorado.
Well, weird in Russia altogether, so we'll just leave it at that. But definitely an interesting situation. Moving on to a Scandinavian country, the Sedin twins, of course, living the high life in Vancouver, doing very well. And they were rewarded, considering that within the Tortorella system, a lot of people thought they would be hating him by now, but he plays them a lot. He loves their grit. Actually, adding grit to the word Sedins might seem funny, but he says these guys play physical and they do a very good job. They are very good players. They'll definitely get your 70 to 80 points guaranteed, most likely. Signed a 4-year deal, $28 million each person did. Did Daniel and Henrik get the right deal? Is that the right deal for the Vancouver Canucks?
Well, I'd say it's the right deal for Daniel and Henrik. I'd be laughing all the way to the bank if that was the case, if I was a player. But I'm not a huge Sedin fan, but I kind of thought that was a different mix with Tortorella's style of coaching and the Sedins and how that was all going to work out. So I've been surprised actually of how well it's worked out for them. But if they get that kind of money, that's good for them.
What have the Sedin sisters done in Vancouver, really? Sorry, sisters, but what have they really done? And that's the thing. Where there's an opportunity for Vancouver to really change the face of this franchise with Torts coming on board. It surprised me that he likes him and he likes their effort and that they signed him. And I thought this is an opportunity to change the face of the franchise, and it looks like they're not going to.
All right, guys. Ryder Hesjedal won the Giro d'Italia a few years ago. Was the talk of Canadian sport, really, when it comes to cycling. This was very big, considering all the talk and the negativity involving the whole kerfuffle, we'll call it, with Lance Armstrong, to put it mildly. Now we hear, after a book came out, that Hesjedal was at least informed. They didn't say specifically he took it, he did admit, but he was involved in performance-enhancing drugs. Guys, when you hear something like this coming from a guy who is a Canadian, felt like they were turning the sport around, it seemed like your everyday good guy, then you hear something like this go along. Is this hurt the sport of cycling, especially in particular the sport in Canada?
Absolutely. The last thing that the sport of cycling needed was another black eye. I think with the Lance Armstrong deal, that gave him 2 black eyes right there. And it's too bad that this happened. It's especially too bad that this guy's Canadian. I don't know what's got to happen in that sport if they're not doing the right kinds of tests or what, but they've got to change something, because you can't have these guys, you know, winning these races, being cycling champions, and then coming out a year later, 2 years later, whatever, and saying, oh yeah, by the way, you know, we did do doping, or we did admit to taking steroids or whatever. You know, they've got to clean that up.
You look at baseball, track and field, cycling. Every time anybody is successful in any of these sports, people sit back, the media sits back and questions whether or not this guy did it legally. And that's the bad thing about all this happening in all those different sports. And you're going to see it continue along until finally it's cleaned up, sort of. You're never, ever, ever going to clean up, because there's always going to be cheaters out there. The old saying is, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
If really quick, Boston Red Sox went from last place in terms of the predictions. Now they ended up winning the World Series, of course. Out of the teams I'm going to list you, who will have the best chance to at least come out of the basement or near the bottom and win a World Series, if not the World Series, at least make the playoffs? Well, they're in here. LA Angels, New York Yankees, San Francisco Giants, or the Toronto Blue Jays. Out of those teams, who will come back and at least just make the playoffs?
I like the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
They've always been a team that I've liked, and you know, the fact that they won it a few years ago, you know, that just made it for me. But I think they maybe had some issues. They had some rebuilding to do this year, and I think they'll be back in it.
Phil, record this. The Angels will be in the World Series next year. There we go.
All right, sounds good. I guess your lips to God's ears, right? Is that how
we
the
can
saying
play
goes?
it a year from now, and you'll say, Bucky knew.
All right, premonitions here, Nostradamus. Well, thank you for that. And Darren, thank you for joining us on this week's Overtime edition. And thank you for also taking time to watch us on our Facebook page. Please tune in every Tuesday night, 7:30 on CITL, and tune in back to our Facebook page and catch the rest of the questions. Until then, we'll see you in 7 days.